Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to answer the question that every couple wants to know, and that is, why do we fight? And why does it seem to spiral out of control? And so for the last few weeks, I've been working on a model that really explains all of this, and I want to share it with you today. And to do that, I am going to share my screen with you. What we're going to look at is we're going to look at first the destructive disconnection cycle, and then we're going to look at the redemptive connection spiral. You'll notice one is red, it's going counterclockwise, it's going the wrong direction. That's exactly what happens when we get in this destructive disconnection cycle. But it does turn around when we get into the redemptive connection spiral. So let me jump in here and we'll start right at the beginning it starts with this unmet need. Anytime that you and your spouse have a disagreement or an argument, well, not a disagreement, people can legitimately disagree, but when that disagreement spirals into a disagreement, in almost all cases, there is some kind of an unmet need. Now, there are lots of needs. I've listed a few here. Love and respect, that may sound familiar to some of you. Security, connection. In my coaching with couples, I go into more needs, all the human needs, because each person is unique. And husbands and wives may not emphasize or prioritize the same basic human needs. And that's based on the frameworks we learned from our families of origin. We all enter into adulthood with a certain framework, and we emphasize or de-emphasize certain human needs. And so what we want to do then is we want to see in ourselves and in our spouses, when we get into an argument, what is the unmet need that's being triggered in this moment of argument. Too often we don't even notice that. What we really notice is the emotional response. And that really is based on what I call reactive emotions. Things like anger or defensiveness or anxiety or detachment or reactivity. Things like being impatient or sarcasm, things like that. When what we notice in our spouse is those kinds of reactive emotions, it's very easy to respond to those. And when we do, it takes us to the next step in this negative or the destructive disconnection cycle, and that is a negative response. And these are, these are from Gottman, if you're familiar with that. But there are many other ways that we might respond negatively. But certainly criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and withdrawal are all ways that we continue this pattern. And the reason that we continue the pattern is that we are responding to these we are reacting, not responding. We'll talk about response in a second. But we are reacting to the negative reactions that we have, these negative emotions that we experience. And then what happens is when we have a negative emotional reaction, we behave in a negative way, it deepens the disconnection and the cycle continues, and we just go round and around and around. The good news is, though, that we don't have to do this. This is why so many times when you get into an argument, you'll start with an argument, and then in 5 minutes, you'll be arguing about something completely different. You'll be talking about not the issue at hand, but you'll be talking about the anger, or you'll be talking about the criticism, or whatever it is. And we easily get off topic. It's because we keep going around the cycle. But the good news is that you can actually break the cycle, and you can have an upward spiral. And that is what we call the redemptive connection spiral. It still starts with an unmet need. And if there's an argument, there almost always, as I said, there is an unmet need that your spouse or you are experiencing in that moment. But notice the circle is going the other way. Here, in the first model, the red model, the destructive disconnection cycle, you're actually going counterclockwise. Here, you're going clockwise. And what makes the difference is that you are responding emotionally, not based on the reactive emotions, but on the root emotions. Reactive emotions separate, root emotions draw people together. Root emotions are things like fear and sadness and shame and hurt and helplessness. And when we are able to acknowledge and to articulate these root emotions, it starts leading us into a path toward connection instead of disconnection. So we are responding even when we see that, let's say, anger in our spouse. We're recognizing, okay, when they respond with anger, typically it means that they are feeling sad, for instance. There's something underneath that is actually going on. So we know that there's an unmet need, there's a really reactive or highly expressed emotion, but underneath that, there is a root emotion. And that's really what's going on, what we really need to pay attention to when we're talking with one another as spouses, or in any situation when someone's very upset. It's frequently not about what they're upset about, it's about something else, some unmet need, like disrespect. We have a need for respect, but when someone perceives that they are being disrespected, they'll often react with anger. So what happens when we respond to the root need, the thing that's really going on under the hood, so to speak, is we get a very positive response. Instead of with some kind of negative behavior like criticism, contempt, defend, or withdraw, we respond positively, and we really respond based on Colossians 3:12 through 14. I really want to, I'll just tell you the whole thing. So it says, so as those who have been chosen of God, holy and beloved, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, gentleness, humility, and patience, bearing with one another and forgiving each other, whoever has a complaint against anyone. Just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you forgive. So also should you, actually. And then, beyond all these things, put on love, which is the perfect bond of unity. So if we can let's just take those first 5 things, put on a heart of compassion, kindness, gentleness, humility, and patience. Think about how differently that is going to hit than if we respond with criticism, contempt, defense, or withdrawal. Those 5 virtues are very different than these 4 vices, right? So this is, again, going to help us spiral up and get into a different place in terms of connection and emotional intimacy with our spouse when we will respond differently. And then, of course, that's what I just said here, deeper connection leading to meeting one another's needs. These, instead of unmet needs, suddenly, because we are responding to their root emotion, because we're responding with compassion and so on, we are meeting those deeper needs, and it just becomes a spiral up, 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 rather than a cycle down, 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 down. So you want to know why you and your spouse get into these cycles, upward or downward? It's because we're not recognizing the unmet needs. We are responding to the reactive emotion rather than the root emotion. And then when we respond, we are responding in an argument to criticism, contempt, to defensiveness, to withdrawal, for instance. There are others, rather than to compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. If we can move from this negative cycle to this positive upward spiral, then it's going to make all the difference in your marriage and really every relationship. So I hope this is helpful. Listen, we go into a lot more detail in this when I coach couples one-on-one, or within, say, a couple of months, I'm going to be starting a group program for couples. It's going to be more educational. It's going to be still have a coaching element to it, and we'll have weekly meetings and so on. I'm still working out all the details of that, but be looking for it. I'll announce it on all the social platforms so that you're aware of it. And if you'd like more information about that, let me know, and I'll be glad to get that to you. In fact, the easiest way is just follow me here or follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, wherever, and you'll get information about that when it pops up. I hope this has been helpful. God bless you, and I hope to hear from you soon.